Alrighty, so let's get started. So what we've got here is 8 minus 2x divided by 4 is equal to 4. All right, so what we need to remember is that when we are solving an equation, the goal or what we want to essentially achieve is getting this x variable alone. I'm solving for x. Okay. Once we start to look at these sorts of questions, what we need to remember, what we need to remember is that we need to use the opposite operation to the original operation in the equation. So what we call this is using inverse operations. Inverse basically just means opposite. And so what that essentially needs to mean to you is that if we were originally adding, we're now going to subtract. If we were originally subtracting, we're now going to add. If we were multiplying, we're now going to divide. And if we were dividing, we are now going to multiply. So that's really important to know when we're solving equations. Okay, now when we have a fraction like we have in question 1, the first thing I actually want to try and do is get rid of the fraction, because the thing is I don't like fractions. Fractions aren't great to work with. And so if I can get rid of that fraction, it's going to make my life a whole lot easier. So remember, if we have a fraction where the denominator is 4, what this is actually saying to me is that I'm dividing by 4. So my original operation was division, which means that what I now need to do is multiplication. So I am going to times both sides of my equation by 4. And the reason we do it to both sides is because this is an equation. The equation has to be balanced. So the left-hand side must equal the right-hand side and must be in balance. And so if I'm going to change something on one side, I have to do that on the other side. Now, timesing by 4 essentially gets rid of that denominator. So what I've created for myself is a situation where now I no longer have a fraction, which is great. So what I have is 8 minus 2x is equal to 4 times 4. Okay, we know we can multiply 4 times 4, and hopefully we are pretty confident with that. 4 times 4 is equal to 16. And then we can now start to go solve for x. Because we got rid of that fraction, we're now going to have a look at the other operations I have. So I've got an 8 minus 2x equals 16. Now remember, this 8, even though we don't show it, does actually have a plus sign in front of it. We just don't have to write that plus sign because it's right at the start of my equation. So that's the first thing I want to now go and deal with. So if it was originally plus, I'm now going to minus. So I'm going to minus 8 on both sides of my equation. Okay, I'm just going to write it up here so that I remember to do it on both sides of the equation. If you want to write the step down as 8 minus 2x is equal to 16 minus 8, that's absolutely fine. But if you sort of want to jump straight away to negative 2x is equal to 8, that's absolutely fine as well. So just so that we're clear, 8 minus 8 is 0, so they actually fall away. And then 16 minus 8 on the right-hand side is 8. So that's where I got that next step of negative 2x equals 8. A reminder, what I'm trying to do is get this x alone. So what I need to now do is I need to consider what operation is happening between the negative 2 and the x. So can anyone tell me? You can raise your hand or you can pop it in the chat. Can anyone tell me what operation is happening between negative 2 and x?
Okay, so we have Lungile. Lungile, do you want to answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell
What's
me.
the answer?
You multiply.
Excellent.
Yes,
Well done, Lungile.
well done.
Awesome. So we are multiplying. So that means the opposite operation is division. So what I now need to do is I need to divide by a negative 2. Because remember, I want the negative gone as well. I just want x. But remember, I have to keep my equation balanced. So I also have to multiply by a negative 2 on the other side, so on the right-hand side. Now, what happens is negative 2 divided by negative 2, they sort of cancel each other out. That gives me 1. So those fall away. On the right, though, I've got an 8 divided by -2. Now, remember, when we've got a positive divided by a negative, I end up with a negative, and then 8 divided by 2 is 4. So in this case, as you've all wonderfully said in the chat, x is equal to -4. Right,
Woo!
guys, well done.
Well done, my people. Teacher Sam, we have one question from Alessa. Can I take it?
Awesome.
Okay. I go.
Hi, ma'am. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Hi, ma'am. I'm so sorry. I just arrived from school. So, ma'am, how did you get the -2x?
The step over here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that came from, if I go back up to this step over here where I've just drawn this arrow, that came from once I had subtracted 8 on both sides. The 8 actually goes away, and all I'm left with on the left is a -2x. So that's just coming from my simplification steps.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Good.
So I'm just gonna say that guys, you can either put your questions right on the chat also. Like this, I can help Teacher Sam also to answer your questions on the chat, because if we get lots of hands on the, we can't take all of the questions. And please listen carefully, because maybe your question will get answered. Okay. So Tirobilon, we are all yours. Hi, we can't hear you because I think of your, is he gone? I think it's your headset, hey? Please remove your headsets, maybe we'll be able to hear you. So Divine, we are all yours.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
I'm kind of confused. Like, how did you get -4 when the equation says it equals to +4? I'm confused.
Because remember, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to solve for x. So what this original question is telling me is that this whole fraction, so the value of that whole thing is equal to 4. And in order for the whole fraction to be equal to 4, this x over here has to be -4. So if you want to sort of check the answer, what you can do is say, okay, well, if that x is -4, what happens when I substitute it in? So if I very quickly do that, if we think about -2 times -4, that gives me a +8. And so what I actually have is 8 plus 8 divided by 4. And so 8 plus 8 is 16, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. So that 4 is actually, I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller, that 4 is actually what the equation is equal to there. And so what I know is that the answer that I got specifically for x is correct, because it does equal 4.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I understand now.
Awesome, well done.
Okay, so we got through.
Awesome, guys. So let's just quickly try another one like this, just so that we can get a little bit of practice. So I'm just going to write in the question here for you. So bear with me. We've got 2 minus 3x divided by 7 is equal to 2. So have a try of that one quickly for me. You can follow the steps that we've done in question 1. It's very similar to question 1. Remember your inverse operations, and have a go and see how you would do that. Right, I'll give you a second or two. If you're feeling brave and you'd like to tell us how you got your answer, please raise your hand, because we'd love to hear from you and we'd all like to learn from each other. So have a try and then let's see.
Let's go, my people. Let's do this. Remember, I just saw Tirobi. I can see you on that chart. You are allowed to do in a different manner as long as your mathematics is correct and what you have said there on the chart is definitely correct. You can do it in that way. You'll get the same answer.
Okay, guys, is anyone feeling brave? Would anyone like to try this little question that I've added here?
Let's do this, my people. Anyone, you can raise your hand and you can answer because I see some answers on the chat already. Please feel free to raise your hand.
If you're not feeling brave to do the whole thing, maybe you can even just help me and tell me what my first step would be.
Yeah, Yolisa is with us. Yes, Yolisa. Okay, so I'm gonna mute you because I'm not quite sure whether it's you talking or maybe it's the network. So if you did get the right answer, great, Yolisa. But please watch out on the what teacher Sam is gonna say, okay? So Chibuzo, we are all yours.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
How should I start? Should I start by reading what I wrote down?
That's perfect. I will follow as you go. Let's hear.
So it was 2 minus 3x over 7 equals 2. So
Perfect.
I wrote it again. 2 minus 3x is equals to 2 times 7.
Awesome. Well done. Okay. Yeah, keep
I
going.
wrote 2 minus 3x is equals to 14.
Yes. Woo.
Yeah, keep going. Sorry, my pen just went weird. Yeah, equals 14. Cool.
Then I took 2 minus 2 and then 14 minus 2.
Awesome.
Then I canceled the like terms, 2 minus 2. Then I was left with 12. So I was left with 3x over 3 and 12 over 3, which was equals to x is equals to 9.
Okay, cool. So just for your last 2 steps, everything was really good. Well done. Just remember the 3x was a negative 3x. So we just need to remember that it is a negative 3 in front of the x. And so when I go and divide, I'm actually dividing both sides by a negative 3. So that's really important that we remember the sign. And then when we divide 12, so positive 12 by a negative 3, we end up with a negative 4. But well done. That was really good.
Well done, Chibuzo. I'm so proud of you. Sabi saying, is that a hand to answer? Because if it is to answer, you can lower it down because they have already answered. If it's a question, we have to ask Teacher Sam if we can take question. Is that fine, Teacher Sam?
Yeah, we can take a question.
Okay. Okay, Kozisi, we are all yours.
Ma'am, I didn't quite get the explanations. Can you please repeat for me?
Yes. Cool. So guys, I'm just going to go through the explanation of this little question that we added here again. So the first thing that I wanted to do, and I'm just going to do it in a different color so you can see my explanation. The first thing I want to do is times both sides by 7, because that will allow me to get rid of that denominator. So that's what I'm doing. Whoopsie, sorry. That's what I'm doing over here on the right. I times by 7. When I times 2 by 7, I get 14. And so what I have is 2 minus 3x equals 14. The next thing I wanted to do, now remember there's a plus in front of that 2, even though we don't write it. The next thing I want to do is I want to subtract 2 on both sides, because when I say 2 minus 2, that actually falls away. 2 minus 2 is 0. And so what I'm left with on the left is the negative 3x. And remember, I'm also having to minus 2 on the right-hand side. And so 14 minus 2 is 12. From that point, I want to get this x all by itself. So I need to divide both sides by negative 3. And that gave me my answer of negative 4.
Okay, thank you. Understand.
Good, well done. Okay, and guys, remember, if this is not clicking for you, you need to go back and watch the earlier videos on the website so that you can sort of do the basics and build up to this. Right, well done, guys. This is awesome. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at question 2. So this is quite similar, but now what I have is a fraction. Minus 3 equals my value of 2. Okay, so we're going to go through this slowly. So make sure you are ready and focused. even though I've got this fraction here, what I'm going to start with is taking that -3 over. If I can just bring it over to the other side, I can then just deal with the fraction. Now, I know that if I'm going to do that, I have to do the opposite of what it originally was. So I have to add 3 on both sides. So what that's going to leave me with is 3x plus 1 over 2 minus 3 plus 3 is equal to 2 plus 3. Now, you don't have to write the -3 plus 3 if you don't want to. It's absolutely fine, because you know that that's actually going to fall away in the end. And so what we have is 3x plus 1 over 2 is equal to 5. Okay, so now this is quite similar to what we had in the first 2 examples, because I've got my fraction and I've got what that whole fraction should equal to. So now I can go and say, cool, the next thing I want to get rid of is the denominator. So the opposite operation is times. So I'm going to times both sides by 2. That then creates a situation whereby I can essentially get rid of the fraction. I can now work with just the 3x plus 1. And remember to multiply that 5 by the 2 as well. And we know 5 times 2 is 10. Okay, now we're going to start to see, all right, well, here my x variable is. I still need to try and get that completely alone. So I'm going to have a look and say, okay, let me subtract 1 on both sides, because then that's going to leave me with just the x term on the left. When I subtract 1 on both sides, I'm going to end up with 3x is equal to 10 minus 1, which we know is 9. And then because I still need to get that x alone, I'm now going to divide, because remember, as we said, the operation between 3 and x is times. So the opposite is now to divide both sides by 3. I have to keep my equation balanced. So what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. And so what I end up with is x is equal to 9 divided by 3, which is 3. And so I get that x is equal to 3. Okay, so take a second, have a look at what's going on there. Right, and again, if you aren't understanding something, what you need to do is you need to go and rewatch those videos or ask us a question. Alrighty.
Screenshot, everyone. Tabi saying, is that a question to ask a question? I mean, a hand to ask a question by English. Well, all yours, Tabi saying.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
There you wrote 3x equals to 9.
Yeah.
So I don't know, is it -3 or +3, or it's just a 3?
It's just a 3 because there were no negatives anywhere. So I wasn't dividing by a negative. The 9 was positive. So because there's no negatives, it's just a +3.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Right, guys, I'm doing this one more time. So please listen. I'm explaining it one more time for you. The first thing we want to do is we want to add 3 on both sides, which is what I did over here, because that will then essentially leave me with just the fraction on the left. So when I say 2 plus 3, I get 5, right? That's where that 5 comes from. The -3 plus 3, that goes away. That's the whole point of me adding 3, so that I can get rid of it. After that, I found that I didn't want to work with this fraction. And so I used the opposite operation and I multiplied by 2, right? So it was divided by 2. I'm now timesing by 2 in order to get rid of it. But I have to do the same thing on the other side of my equation because I have to keep my equation balanced. So I got the 10 from saying 5 times 2. The times 2 on the left-hand side with the fraction, remember I've shown you that actually gets rid of the denominator. So now you're just left with the 3x plus 1. I'm now going to move the plus 1 over, so it becomes -1. And so when we go and say 10 minus 1, so what I'm doing over here when I -1, I get 9. So we're using inverse operations. Once I've got my 9, I still want to get rid of that coefficient. I still want to get rid of this 3 in front of the x. And the only way for me to do that is to divide, because the original operation was multiplication. So the inverse, or the opposite, is to divide by 3. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. Okay. So yes, let's definitely do another one like this. I'm going to write one out for you to have a try. So, excuse me. 8x plus 1 divided by 17 plus 5 is equal to 6. So don't get scared of the big numbers. Follow what we've done in this example number 2, and you should get your right answer. Okay, so go slowly, work through it. Remember those inverse operations. That's really, really important. Start, I'll give you a little clue. Start by taking the plus 5 and moving it over the equal sign. And to do that, you have to then minus 5. Right, and if you're feeling brave, put your answer in the chat or raise your hand and try and explain it to us, because we'd love to hear how you did it. Okay, guys, you're working really well. And I know some of this is tricky, but just keep practicing. And like I say, if you're not understanding something, either ask or just remember you can go back and watch these videos again, all right?
Hey, my people, anyone who would like, is it fine if they can answer this question?
Awesome, let's hear.
Sandy, I hope that it's a hand to answer, right, Sandy?
You have a question?
I have a question.
Okay.
Can you please quickly explain how you break up the fraction?
Okay, when you say I break up the fraction, what do you mean? So like how I
Change
got,
it.
so how I got rid of the denominator, for example.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, right. So what I need to remember, if I just look at the fraction, so just the fraction by itself, what I need to remember is that a fraction is division. And so if I want to get rid of the denominator, the only way for me to do that is to do the opposite. So it would be to times by 2. So that's what I'm doing here in this step. And so by timesing by 2, I sort of get rid of the fraction, and then I do it on both sides.
Oh, okay. I get it now.
Good, well done.
Okay, so I have arranged with Klono. Klono, I don't see your hand up. Klono wanted to answer. So Klono, if you don't raise your hand, I would unmute Ayanda. I hope Ayanda is to answer the question. So let's try Ayanda. Hi, Ayanda.
Hi, ma'am. So ma'am, the answer is gonna be x is equals to 2 because
Okay.
when you
Whoops, sorry.
6 minus 5 will give you 1, and then you have 8x plus 1 over 17 equals to 1.
Perfect.
And then you say 17 times 17 and 17 times 1 will give you
Awesome.
8x plus 1 equals to 17
Good.
minus 1 on both sides.
Awesome.
And then you'll have 8x divided by 16 will give you 2. And you divide
Awesome.
x by 8, yeah.
Awesome, well
Ayanda,
done.
well
That's excellent.
done. Well done. Chibuzo,
Thank
if
you.
that hand is to answer, they already answered. So if you can lower it down, but if it's to ask a question, then you're more than welcome to do so. Hey, we are done. Well done, my people.
Guys, well done. That was really, really good. So you're just using your inverse operations. We started by subtracting 5 on both sides. Once we had that, we then multiplied by 17, and that's what I just explained. If you want to get rid of the denominator, you have to do the opposite. So the fraction means divide, so we do the opposite. So we multiply by 17, and then you've got that 8x plus 1 equals 17. We subtract 1 on both sides. So that gave us the next step of 8x equals 16. And then we have to get x alone. So we divide both sides by 8. So well done, guys. That's really, really good. Awesome.
Those of you who are still confused, Palesa, if that hand is to ask a question, can you please ask it directly to me so I can try and see, or you can just put it in the chat and then maybe your answer, your question will get answered to the next question that we're going to do. Okay.
Right. And those answers in the chat, guys, well done. I see that we've saying we got them right. I saw the answers coming through of x equals 2. So well done. Really, really good job. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a bit of a brain break. What I'd like you to just do is put like a little thumbs up, thumbs down, or like a half, how you're feeling about the questions we've done so far while I put up the brain break. For those of you that are new, just so that you know what a brain break is, it's basically just like a little break we take from all the equations and the math that we're doing, and we try and just think about numbers a little bit differently. Okay, so I always have a little math joke, and you can laugh at it or not. And then my brain breaks are sometimes a little bit different. This one today, I'm asking you what the orange is, what the watermelon is, and what the pineapple is. So when I say what it is, I mean what number is it? What value is it? So get up, stretch, move your body, get the blood flowing, and then you can try your brain break, and then we'll carry on with our equations. Okay. Right. So
Aye, my people, let's do this. Anyone who is brave also in this brain break, come and explain to us what's your answer and why do you think that's your answer?
Okay, guys, a brain break is just a break from the maths we're doing. That's it. It's just for you to have like 2 minutes to get up, stretch, move your body. You can try this. If you don't want to try this, that's fine. But it's just to like get your brain working a little bit differently. I am seeing some thumbs down in the chats about sort of how you're feeling about it. And again, it's practice. You need to be asking questions if you're not understanding something. So I'm going to sort of assume that the thumbs down are, I need more practice. Otherwise, if you have a specific question, please do ask.
Saying's hand is up. We're saying, are you here to let us know on this brain break? What do you think?
Ma'am. No, like I saw something. Sorry, I never mind, ma'am. You're
Okay, I'll pass it on then to Ayanda. Ayanda, you have an explanation for this brain break?
Ma'am, I can try, ma'am. So what I thought was, since the way I counted it, I first said, what can go into 36 3 times, right? And I got 9. And I got 9. No, I got 4. Sorry, wait, 9. Yeah.
Okay, so just double check. If we said
no, I got 4. Sorry, I got 4.
Right. If we said 4 plus 4 plus 4, what do we get?
We get 12.
Okay. So have a think again. What 3 of the same numbers do we add together to get 36?
12.
12.
Yes.
Right, exactly. 12 plus 12 plus 12 gives me 36. So now I know that my watermelons are all 12. Excellent. Do you want to try the next one?
Is that a peach?
A peach, an orange, whichever you'd like.
Okay. 12 plus this plus 12. What is 18 divided by 2? So meaning the peaches are 9.
Okay,
no, sorry. Are they?
Okay, so do you agree with me that the peaches are exactly the same value because they're both peaches? So if I say 28 minus 12, what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how much I have left that I need to split in half. So 28 minus 12.
26. It's
16.
16.
Good.
16
so what's half of 16? 8. Good. Well
8.
done. Okay, so all my peaches are 8.
So meaning a banana is 5.
Awesome. Well done.
Well done, Ayanda. And everyone else who
Ma'am,
wanted
isn't
to.
like ma'am,
Sorry?
isn't the watermelon 6 because it's 2 watermelons and not 1?
Well, okay. So that's a very fair point. One slice of watermelon, I agree, would be 6. Yes. Good. Well done.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well done, everyone who even wanted to volunteer. So 5394, yes. I saw you remove your hand. Well done for that
Right.
also. Well done, guys.
Guys, excellent. Well done. Okay, so let's have a little look here at our next example over here. So question 3, we've got 2 times x minus 1 equals 4. Okay, so this is obviously no longer fractions, but it's distribution. So again, I'm going to explain this one and then we'll do another example and then we'll keep going. So when we see brackets in an equation, so when we see that we have to distribute, that's the first thing I'm going to do, just because then it gets rid of the brackets. I know what I'm working with. So when I say distribute, I mean that I have to multiply the 2 with the x and the 2 with the negative 1. Now, if you want to, you can have like a little multiplication block for yourself just to write it down as you go so that you make sure you're doing things correctly. Oh no, so sorry. So for the first one, 2 times x, we know 2 times x is 2x. And for 2 times negative 1, be careful of your signs, because a positive times a negative is a negative, and then 2 times 1 is 2. So when I do, or once I've done that distribution, the answer that I get is 2x minus 2 is equal to 4. And now that looks like a much nicer equation that I can deal with. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with what's being subtracted. So that minus 2, which means I must do the opposite and add 2 on both sides. And so I end up then with 2x minus 2 plus 2 is 0, so I can leave that off, is equal to 4 plus 2, which is 6. Right, I'm still trying to get that x alone, right? I've still got that x there, and that's still being multiplied by the 2. So that's the next thing I want to go and deal with. If it's multiplication, the opposite is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And so what I have is that x is equal to 3. Because remember, those 2's, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I'm actually just left with an x. And so I've got x is equal to 3. Right, I'm seeing some lovely answers. Well done, everyone. Really good job. Okay, good. Excellent.
Done, my people. You guys nailed this question. And please do listen to Teacher Sam, okay? Because I see some of you are already writing without her explaining, and then you'll get lost. So rather wait, and then she explains, you listen, and then you can do the question, okay? Or she will give you more, actually. We're going to get more questions, so don't worry.
Definitely. Okay, guys, let's have a look at a similar one to this. I don't think, yeah, let's look at a similar one to this before we carry on with that one. So I'm just going to take my multiplication block off because it's in my way. Right, I would like you to please try this one for me. So we've got 2x, oh no, am I going to give you exactly the same one? That was not smart, was it? The brain is fried today, guys. So sorry. Right, there we go. 3x plus 1 is equal to 9. Okay, try that one for me. So first start with your distribution, first start with your multiplication, and then you can start solving. And if you're feeling brave, please raise a hand. We'd like to hear your answer.
Let's do this, my people. Who's gonna shine? Shine, guys, shine. Let's see. Ayanda, do you want to raise your hand so you can give it a try to check how did you get your answer? There we go.
Okay, Ayanda, let's hear.
Okay, so what I did was 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 1 is 3 equals to 9. Then I said 3x is equals to 9 minus 3.
Yeah.
And then 3x is equals to 6 divided by 3 on both sides.
Good.
And your answer is x is equals to 2.
Wonderful. Well done.
Done.
Excellent. Okay, guys. So exactly, x is equal to 2. So well done, guys. I saw that also coming through on the chat. That's excellent. You guys are doing really, really well.
Palesa, is that a question or to answer? Let's hear Palesa. Palesa, we are all yours.
Ma'am, I got x is equals to 4.
Okay, so can you have a look at my answer and can you maybe see where you might have gone wrong? Or can you tell me where maybe your working out looks a little bit different and then we can see what happened?
So ma'am, I said 3x divided by 3 equals 12 divided by 3, and then 3 cancel 3, which I'm left with x, and then 12 divided by 3 is 4.
Okay, so just be careful. Your 12, let me just get a color here. When we have this plus 3, I'm not,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not adding 3 on both sides. Remember what I want to do is I want to do the opposite. So I want to minus 3.
Minus.
So it's not 9 plus 3, which would give you 12. It's 9 minus 3.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Good, well done. Right, guys, you're doing so well. That's excellent. So let's try something, a little step up, but you got it. You're doing really well. So now what we have is distribution on both sides of my equal sign, but that's okay because I know that the second I see distribution, we sort that out immediately. So I'm going to distribute the 2 into the first bracket, and on the other side of my equal sign, the 3 into the second bracket, and I go and multiply. Now, again, if you want to do your little multiplication block, that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to divide it in half for the one side and the other side. So I've got 2 times x, which is 2x, and 2 times 2, which is 4. That is on the left-hand side. LHS means left-hand side. I'm just being lazy. Okay, then on the right-hand side, RHS, I've got 3 times 2x. Now be careful here. You've got some numbers that you have to multiply and you have a variable. So 3 times 2 is 6. So we have 6x. And then I've got 3 times -1, which is -3. Okay, so if I write that all out in the form of my equation, I've got 2x plus 4, that's from my left-hand side, is equal to 6x minus 3. And remember, that's now from my right-hand side multiplication. Right, now when I've got a situation when I've got x's on both sides and numbers on both sides, what I want to do is I want to get the x's to the left-hand side. The reason I'm saying left is because our answer is generally always written as x equals something. So our answer generally always has x on the left anyways. So if we put it there to start with, we shouldn't have any problems. Now, the second I start moving terms over my equal sign, that's when my inverse operations is very important. So what I want to do is I want to get this plus 6x over to the left-hand side. The only way for me to do that is to do the opposite. So if it was plus 6, this is now minus 6x. So I'm going to do this step by step. We've got 2x minus 6x, because I've brought it over, plus 4 is equal to, now remember, if I'm saying 6x minus 6x, I'm subtracting something from itself, so it goes away. So I've got equals -3. Then I want to take, or I want to get the constant, so basically just the numbers to the right. So that means that the plus 4 that's currently sitting on the left, I need to bring over to the right. And remember, the only way I can do this is to do the opposite. So I need to minus 4. on both sides. What that leaves me with is then 2x minus 6 is equal to the negative 3 minus 4. And now you've got like terms on either side of your equal sign. So you can add them, 2x, or you can subtract them. 2x minus 6x is a negative 4x, and the minus 3 minus 4 is minus 7. We then know that we want to get x alone. So what I now need to do is I need to divide both sides by a negative 4. I don't want the negative there, so it must be divided as well. And so what I have is x is equal to negative 7 divided by negative 4. Now remember, when we've got a negative divided by a negative, we actually have a positive. So that would be positive 7 over 4. Now, I always leave my answers as an improper fraction. If you write it as a mixed number, which in this case would be 1 3/4, or as a decimal, it really is okay. My personal preference is always an improper fraction, but it's okay if you write it as a mixed number or as a decimal. Okay, if there's instructions tell you to write it in a specific way, so if the instructions tell you that you have to write it, say, for example, as a decimal, then please follow the instructions. Otherwise, any way is absolutely fine.
So I'm sure those hands asked to ask questions. Remember, guys, that you can pop your questions also on the chat, okay? Like this, when Teacher Sam is busy explaining, some of you can actually realize that it's the same question that you wanted to ask. Teacher Sam, can you please go to the previous question? They want to take screenshot first, and then yeah, just for a second.
Sure, let's do, where's my previous question? There we go. Okay, there you go. I'll leave it up like that. So people
there we go. Guys, take screenshots of question 3 so that we can move to question 4. But anyway, can I take questions, Teacher Sam?
Cool.
Okay.
1 or 2.
June, we are on you. The rest, please do listen. June, we are all yours. Okay, June. Okay, June, you can put your question then on the chat. Lungile, we are all yours. Do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Lungile.
Ma'am, at my school, they teach us the different way for question 4.
Okay.
You just put you say 2x and then minus 6x and then plus 4 and then equals to negative 3, and then after you say you take the x's, both x's, and put them together, and then after you take the numbers and put them together, and then after you take that answer, that is your final answer.
Okay, so that's absolutely fine. Sort of as I followed everything, that's absolutely fine. So even here, that's very similar to what you had said in the first step. So you can do it that way, absolutely. Just remember that your answer must always have x alone. So as long as you get x equals something, that's absolutely fine.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
Okay, so Tsireletso, we are all yours.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
I have a question. I was following just fine, and then I got lost at the third step.
Okay, so when you say the third step, do you, oh, God, this step over here by the star?
Yes, that's exactly where
Okay, so you understand why I've got 2x minus 6x?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the third step is very similar, because what I'm trying to do in this third step is I am trying to basically take, I want to get this plus 4 and I want to move it over to the right-hand side. And the only way for me to do that is to subtract 4. So in this third step, I've subtracted that 4. That's what I'm doing there. And then I've got like terms on either side that I can add together. And so then I can go and solve for x.
Oh, okay. And when it came to the third, fourth, fifth step, when it's x equals to -7 divided by -4,
Yeah.
how do we go from that to the end negative? I mean, x equals to 7/4.
So remember, when we've got a positive, oh gosh, that's not a positive sign. If we've got a negative divided by a negative, our sign actually changes to become positive. So because I had a -7 divided by a -4, it became positive 7/4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it now, thanks.
Pleasure. All right, guys, so let us have a look. You do have a quiz tonight. So whilst we are definitely going to practice more of this, I just want to have a look at some of these very basic exponent equations or exponential equations as we go along. We are going to do more practice of this. Expressions we have already done, so there's videos of expressions, but we'll do a little bit more practice of that as we go along. But let's just have a look at some of these exponent equations, just because this is what we were actually supposed to do today. And so just for your quiz that you can answer everything, let's have a look. Okay, so I'm just going to do 1 or 2, and if you get to the quiz and you can't do it, don't worry, we're going to practice. Okay, now when we have an x squared, now the inverse operation rule applies for any equation that you do. This must be true for everything. If I've got something squared, the opposite of it is to square root. If you have the square root of something, the opposite is to then square. So it works both ways. So in this case, I've got x squared equals 25. And I already see some answers coming through in the chat, which is awesome. We know that we want to essentially, if I've got an x squared, it's saying to me that I've got x times x. So I'm looking for two identical numbers that when I times together, I get 25. And those two identical numbers is 5. We know that 5 times 5 gives me 25. So when I square root this, because remember, I'm doing the inverse operation of square, I square root. What happens is the square root and the square cancel each other out. But bear in mind, if you square root one side, you have to square root the other side. So this gives me x equals, and you can do this on your calculator if you're not 100% confident with square numbers. There's a square root button on your calculator, and this would give you 5. Now, what's really important is that we remember that when we square root a number, we can get a positive or a negative. The reason for that is because if you had a -5 squared, this is saying -5 times -5. A negative times a negative is actually a positive. So this gives me positive 25. If I said positive 5 squared, this would give me 5 times 5. And that also gives me 25. And so when we square root something, we want to have that plus minus in front because it shows me that I could either be squaring a positive or I could be squaring a negative. Okay, so if you get an equation, I'm saying it again, so listen up to those of you who said, please explain again. If you have an equation where you've got a squared or any exponent, what we do is we do the inverse. So if it is being squared, we now need to square root, which is what I've done in my equation. I wanted to get just x, not x squared, so I square rooted both sides. And what we then need to bear in mind is that when I square root something, I can actually get a positive or a negative value because when I multiply two negatives together, I get a positive. And when I multiply two positives together, I also get a positive. So there's actually two possible answers there for me. Okay.